So hello everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. And I'm going to bombard you with images. I hope I don't go too fast. It's going to be fast for the first bit and then it might slow down a bit. So that's me. And I was born in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and I drew a lot on the kitchen table, encouraged by my mum, who set it all up so that my brother and I could just draw. And it seems I could draw quite well when I was young, because thankfully she kept everything. And that was me drawing a broken doll at aged 3 and 10 months. And it seems that at 4 and 6 months, I was still drawing broken dolls. And that's me and my brother going to school. And I'm going to show you Northern Ireland in the early 60s. And I'm showing you this really to show you the muted colors. I remember being indoors a lot, and it was that time. And I remember going to the beach, and I remember the beautiful green of the grass in Ireland, but I also remember grey skies, and most of the color that I saw was indoors with the drawing things that my mum gave us. And then in 1969, when the Troubles were starting, my dad found a way of getting us out, and he got a job in broadcasting in Hong Kong. And I was 6, and we went to live in Hong Kong. And that's when the color all changed. And you can see just how bright and vivid it was. And it was such a contrast to Northern Ireland. And it was totally inspiring. And I'm just going to run through a few pictures of Hong Kong. Some of them are from back then, some of them are newer pictures, but really it hasn't changed much since the 60s when I went. The buildings have got taller, things have got brighter, there's more LED and less neon, but the color of Hong Kong is so striking and so inspiring. And the buildings, I mean, they were tall then, certainly compared to Northern Ireland, but much taller now. And Hong Kong is just a juxtaposition of different shapes and different materials, and somehow it just really captivated me as a child, especially the mix of ancient and modern. And the busyness, the crowds of people just everywhere, all the time. Just got used to that. That was, just one of the joys of Hong Kong. So I started drawing differently, and I started drawing with color that I didn't have access to. Like, I remember getting my first neon pens, seeing neon color. I still love it. I still love neon. But also drawing crowds of people, because that's just what it was like there. And that's my mum. And I'm showing this picture because my mum was a real inspiration musically. And she brought music into my life because she was the All Ireland champion solo dancer, Irish dancing, that is, of Ireland. And so there was always Irish music when I was young. And when I came to London to go to art college, we'd moved back to Northern Ireland by then. And then I moved to London, and I moved in to a basement flat in Notting Hill just before Carnival. And steel band was playing in the street. And I was really moved by the steel band, just the music, the uplifting sound of pan. And I started drawing pan and music and the things around me. And then I met Colin, who was a busker playing trumpet in the street. So I was an art student, he was a trumpet player. And that's him drawing in Portobello Road. That's actually a photograph taken by our friend Leon Morris. And it actually won the Kodak competition. But it was just that real photo. It was Colin playing trumpet in Portobello Road. And we got married not long after. And I just drew what our life was. So, and there was a lot of music involved. It was people Colin played with, different musicians. At the time, there was sort of an emerging jazz scene. There's people in Notting Hill. That's Frank Tonto, who's an amazing drummer. That's Cleveland Watkins, fantastic jazz singer. Right. And that was Joan Armatrading and Pharaoh Saunders. And so I was just drawing. I always carried sketchbook and drew wherever we were, often in Notting Hill in the different bars, and there was a good few music venues. And that was in a little basement flat, musicians that had come around to play. And I also drew dance and went to rehearsals, different things, but always carried sketchbook, which was, you know, sometimes you came across these moments. That was at a hair and beauty event, and there was this thing going on stage, the Battle of the Barbers, which I was just so pleased to be able to capture because it was extraordinary. And the good thing about keeping sketchbook was that sometimes moments happened, like that particular day at the Tricycle Theatre, I got up my sketchbook and I drew really quickly because the man sitting on the right on the table was James Baldwin. And I was so glad that I got to draw him from life. And I had a few exhibitions, and mostly about music. And I started getting work, all different music things. And back in the day when copyright-free images were sold on CDs that you could buy, I did a few of those. And my work was used on all kinds of things, CD covers and DVD covers and editorial. And the emerging jazz scene, there was a magazine called Wire, and I did quite a lot of the jazz drawings I did were published in Wire. That's Cleveland. And that's Chuck Brown. I got to draw him and do his album cover, which was fantastic. Amazing album, that Live DC Bump and Yell. Still remains one of my favorites. So we're pausing on this one just while somebody comes in. That was a series of t-shirts, actually. Just a tiny little techie glitch. There we go. So I love drawing on black backgrounds, just highlighting color on dark backgrounds, but not easy to do when you're doing it all with paint, and because you have to actually make really bright color to get it onto a dark background. So that's something I'll come back to. So sometimes they were kind of activists things, like this poster campaign that my friend Cynthia was part of, and she told me about it too. We needed to save the electric cinema, and got that poster up. But I remember just to do that, I had to go and stand in front of the electric to draw it. And then I had to come home and kind of invent a group of characters and cut them out and stick them in front of it. So back then it was all cutting and pasting. We'd saved the electric cinema, which was amazing. But it was all drawing on paper with pens. And I'd also started to draw classical music by then. And that was really interesting because I'd always been told that classical music was the highest form, that this was kind of at the pinnacle. And I didn't really know much about classical music. So it was an amazing journey of discovery of classical music. And I got to be part of and listen to and be with the Royal Philharmonic for a year while they recorded. But in a sense, it demystified it for me as well, because I got to know a lot of the musicians, and I learned that very few of them felt confident to play without a very precise conductor in front of them, or without music in front of them to read the music. And I realized that in the pan world that I'd been watching, because that was where I lived in Notting Hill, and I was seeing steel pan at Carnival, in the pan world, there was incredible virtuosity and incredible musical dexterity and talent and in wonderful arrangements, yet there was no music, and people were playing by ear, and composers were composing on the spot or calling the notes. So that was really interesting, just to know that. But at the time, pan you didn't really see pan that much. So I found myself telling a lot of my classical musician friends about pan, and they were really interested to hear that it wasn't a drum. So I've just always kept that interest in pan. Anyway, at the time, we were just living our lives and not really realizing that it was kind of a movement. But Cynthia Rose, who's a wonderful writer and journalist and thinker, she created this book for Thames and Hudson of all the dance floor style in the 80s. So I was so pleased that she included me in a chapter in the book. And it was really great for me to realize that it was kind of a movement. There was stuff going on, that emerging scene, and Jazzy B and Soul to Soul and other people in the book. It was, so I'm so thrilled about that, so thankful for that. But at the time, just thinking about the process of drawing, it was kind of complex, because if I had an editorial job, I had to do the job and get it right. But you could make mistakes and things could splodge and ruin a drawing. And when did you stop? And you could overwork something. So you had to wait for them to dry as well and get them down, get the drawing down there, choose one, get on a bus and take it into central London. So that was all just the process that made things longer. And also sometimes things could go wrong. I remember doing this drawing and really liking it, and then it was just too dark. And you can't undo with pen and paint. And with this one, I remember I was working on a big scale, and there's a lot of changes to get what I wanted. For this, I drew Richard Briers, and I did loads of drawings of him before I found one that kind of had economy. So there was a process that took time. I was doing a little bit of social commentary. I did the back page of Tatler, and again, sometimes a drawing, you could spend ages because a drawing just might not work, or sometimes it would work straight away. So I did loads of different subjects that involved people, but also lots of music. And it was using these, and it was making a mess. And we were living in a little 1-bedroom flat on Ladbroke Grove. That's it. And if you just remember, I'll kind of come back to that particular flat later in the tour. But then we had Sasha, and when she started toddling around, it became harder to draw with paints and to set up. And in terms of technology, like I said, I love drawing on black backgrounds, but that was not an easy thing to do. I remember doing this, you had to actually put a lot of layers of paint to get it to stand out. That was for a television show. And one thing, the biggest technology that I could apply would be reversing something out on a photocopier, which we did for that. And then that was for that particular job, using that kind of way out modern technique with a photocopier. But then I had an Apple Mac, and that thing that I've pasted on, you can probably see it's a paste job on the bottom right hand corner, is a Wacom tablet. And I'd started using one when I saw it demonstrated at an Apple Mac show. And I saw this product called Corel Painter, which was a free paint software. And I just thought, that's my way forward. So eventually I got a better computer, got that Corel Painter, and suddenly I could draw with color and with line and all the things you could do on paper without having to mix the paints or wait for the paint to dry. And best thing was that you could undo your last line up to 32 times. So you could kind of get to a point where a drawing could have spontaneity, and you could be pleased with it, and you could go, you didn't have to ruin a drawing like what happened often in the other process. And you could work on black backgrounds or pink backgrounds, and you could give people, you know, shirts made pour in a pattern. And there was crazy brushes like that one I loved, which kind of made up of lots of lines. I felt with the computer it was like getting a new toy, and you could be, you know, more experimental, kind of more playful. And merge in photographs so easily as well. And I could still draw from things, because once I got a laptop, then I could draw from the TV, or, you know, or I think at that stage I could turn the computer around to face the TV and draw a football match. And I could merge in text, or even draw with a brush, that brush with the word across. That brush is a sort of a brush made up of flowers, little roses. So it was just a very exciting medium to work in. Just the joy of drawing and on computer was unexpectedly brilliant. It was also much easier, because you just send a job to the client by email or on an ISDN line, and then later, of course, you know, all methods instantly. So these are mostly editorial illustrations. And I could still go into, like, that job was to go into a company that does relocation of companies when they have like a computer disaster, or I did loads of huge pieces for their large offices, but I went in and drew with my laptop, so you could draw from life with using this program as well. And sometimes we got opportunities to actually go to events and draw and project the screen. So it kind of became part of the entertainment at weddings and different events. And people could watch the process of a drawing happening, and the undo and the kind of mixing in of things. I remember that one was actually sitting in my car at Notting Hill Gate, so using my laptop like a sketchbook. And the same with that, which was actually at a primary school in Ghana. I was doing some work with world education. And the technology of the print technology had really moved along with it. And large scale print technology had become really affordable and more experimental. So you could print stuff big and do backdrops. And it could be, you know, printed on a walkway or on vinyl and stuck up temporarily. And you could print on canvas or blockboard, and all kinds of technology. That was a piece that a dad commissioned for his son, of all the things his son liked, and that was his little son getting it. That was one that gave me a lot of joy doing and handing over. And I'll just show you a little how it works. This is Hong Kong. This is the MTR, the Mass Transit Railway, the tube. So this is a recording on my phone of an earlier drawing. So I could just get on the tube and draw with my, you know, draw on an iPad with a pen. And you can even do it on your phone. Oh, somebody liked my post. And also print things on canvas and then add more paint. So it opened up, for me, it opened up so many possibilities. that was a mailbox, electricity box, some kind of terminal that I really loved. I saw it in Hong Kong and I made that into a piece. And that was painting with a pen that you actually make the words in. So I painted with those words during the really exciting 2008 election. And that ended up in the Library of Congress, that portrait of Barack Obama. And this portrait of this person I made out of his tweets, which I loaded into the brush and painted with them. And it's not in the Library of Congress. And in fact, I don't know if one of Barack Obama is still in the Library of Congress. But anyway, I also just kept drawing on paper because I think it was really important to keep that going. So wherever I went on holidays or any event we went to, I just drew. And I just because I love it. So I'm going to just go through these last few images. And our life changed a bit and we started going to very different events. So I was drawing polo and all kinds of things and still doing a little bit of social commentary. But I kept on drawing steel pan because I felt really strongly that steel pan in music, in art, of arts where the subject is musicians, which it's a common subject. It's a beautiful image of somebody playing an instrument. You know, you see a lot of double bass players or violinists, but you didn't often see pan. And so the whole way through, I kept drawing pan in Notting Hill, all the different rehearsals that I saw people playing at, or people playing in the street, rehearsing for things leading up to Carnival, at Carnival, because I wanted pan, I wanted to capture it, just the joy of it. But also I really felt that, and still do feel, that pan needs to be represented more in music, in art. I mean, in music in art, if you like. I'd love to see more images of pan. So I'm enjoying doing it. And now I'm more involved in the steel pan world, I always try and get pan players drawing so that we're all doing it. We're all representing pan. We're all covering it. Anyway, this takes me on to something that was happening the whole way through this, which is that I was so lucky to have this amazing hobby, joy, you know, real sort of activity that my whole family were involved in. Nearly everyone I knew in Notting Hill was involved in, which is Carnival. And the whole way through, we were involved, and really started when Sasha started school. And the school she went to was on the footprint of Notting Hill Carnival, in the footprint. But the school didn't really have any involvement. So some parents had started a project to get the kids from the school into Notting Hill Carnival, to get them on the road, to get a float going, to get them kind of having some ownership of Carnival. And I got involved when I brought children's art into it. So I started a part of the project where we took materials into schools, we thought up a theme, and we got children working to that theme, but in entirely their own way. So this was umbrellas, and we'd put the artwork every year, think up a new theme, and put the artwork on the end of poles, and those poles would move in time to the music and come to life at Carnival. This was another year where the children actually drew using the computer program that I use. So I got that into schools. I've got different sponsors to work with me to enable that to happen. Got printers to help me print it and donate services. And we got their work onto Corex, which is estate agents board material, you know, those for sale signs, and got their art out into Carnival. That was drain pipes, just grey drain pipes, painted primary colours or simple, you know, clean colours given to children, and then they bring them to life. And that was windsock fish. So every year we did a different project. That was plastic bags that we discover when you iron them together. You can do anything. Oh, there's the umbrellas again. That's flags. That year was just brushes and brooms. And that was the last Fox Carnival project, because this project was called Fox Carnival, and that was the last one we did, which was in 2014, which was hearts, and kids painted, just brought those hearts to life, and we took them on the road. So these projects were a big operation. They involved loads of teams of people and loads of other parts to the project. So that's Colin. I think he cut out 700 Corex hearts out of estate agents' signs that were misprints. And we bought a bandsaw on eBay, and he had a production line going. I'm pausing on Colin here just as we let someone in. There we go. Nice that we're pausing on you, Colin. I remember that hard work and how you became so adept at using that bandsaw. Oh, still pausing on Colin. Computer will let me move on in a minute. It seems to take about a minute every time. Here we go. So hearts and getting them ready to give to children. So lots of people involved, taking over houses and gardens, and then going into like every school in the borough to get those kids to create carnival art. And then the magic happens when the kids bring them to life, and they take their little heart and they just create their own work on them. And I just loved the idea of bringing children's own art that was very unique into Carnival and letting it be just how they wanted it to be. And you know, it's just so inspiring for me, just the choices they make, the things they do, their freedom of expression. And I always look at them, these photographs of children's finished carnival art, and think, you know, you had an idea and you thought it could look good, but when they touch it, it always ends up better than you anticipated, better than you could imagine. And I loved seeing their work at Carnival on the road, kind of juxtaposed against different backdrops, against people, against buildings, against the sky. So that's Carnival morning when everyone's getting ready, and in all the different Carnival mass camps and, you know, all the different places where people get ready for Carnival, that's happening, and the excitement is just unbelievable, and everyone's ready. And then you hit the road, and that's going down Notting Hill Gate, about to turn into Ladbroke Grove, following a truck that's playing soca music really loudly and everyone's dancing behind the truck. That's turning the corner into Ladbroke Grove. And then you hit the crowds, and then it's just pure joy. And there's not many places you get to see that smile, you know, that joy of reclaiming the streets. And the community that it creates, of everyone coming together to just celebrate each other, and that reclaiming of the streets. And I felt very lucky to be able to get to design a t-shirt every year. All these different t-shirts over sort of 17 years of projects for Fox Carnival. But designing the t-shirt was just one part. It's when you give it to the people, when they get it and what they do with it, that's the next really exciting thing. So they were turning t-shirts into costumes, amazing things. And you just could never imagine what people would think of. Bring a little bit of themselves to you know, a little bit of everyone's own individual creativity to Carnival. And some of the t-shirts ended up just extraordinary. So that just takes me to tell you about one particular project. So we did Fox Carnival every year, and it kind of took a year of background planning, of course, while we're working and doing other things and life's going on, but it's kind of always there. But then one year, 2012, there'd been an ongoing project that the borough had commissioned for the North Wall of Portobello Road, which is a fabulous 100-meter wall. And they've been doing different projects. 10 years of commissions were planned, and this one was advertised. It was a call for entries, and it was called Aspects of Carnival. And before I even saw it, a few people told me about it and said, you've got to do it. And I saw it, and I really wanted to do it. I really wanted it, but it had never gone to a local artist. It had gone all over UK, and I thought, I've just got to do this. So I thought about it, and I pitched it to them, and I got it, and I was so happy. So we're pausing on this one just while somebody comes in, but I'll tell you a bit more about the project. The wall is 100 meters, which is a big space, and they wanted the whole wall covered. So that's a lot of canvas to cover, but I was going to do it on computer. But painting on computer on my small screen in my small studio, because of course you don't need a big studio space when you work on computer. But had I been covering real canvas, I would have needed space to step back and look from a distance. But of course, when you're painting on computer, you can just zoom in and zoom out. You can't do it any faster, but because you have to cover the same amount of canvas, but you don't need a big studio. So it was a lot of work, and I worked really long hours, 7 days a week to do this project, but I loved every minute of it. And this particular year, we didn't do Fox Carnival. We took a break from Fox Carnival for 1 year. We paused it so that I could do this project, but I was really happy to have this up on the wall for Carnival. So I'm just going to take you through the images, and it was free. It was a very free brief. It was anything you wanted. But what I said I wanted to do was just tell my story. I couldn't have in any way attempted to do a historical document about Carnival, because I couldn't do it justice in 6 weeks. So I just wanted to draw about the area and the impact of Carnival on the area. And I just wanted to kind of enjoy the drawing, the process of drawing, and to capture something of what I feel the energy of Carnival brings to Notting Hill. So I'm going to attempt to see if I can zoom in on the images. Oops, hang on. Hang on, it's going to take me a minute to get this right. Okay, that's all I have to do. So this first one was this was showing the antique side of Portobello Road, and just Colin, that's Colin, kind of confusing because he's busking, but he's obviously older than when I met him because he hasn't got hair. But he's wearing a Carnival t-shirt, and this was just showing, you know, this side of Portobello, the community, the tourists that come, and that people who come to the area know that it's kind of carnival land, that carnival happens in this area, and that this area is special because carnival happens in it. So I had great opportunity here to put whatever I want in, merge in photos, put in some of my old photos, put in a little bit of humor. And, you know, those are my old Christmas decorations, some of my toys from Hong Kong. And I think there's a bit of my mum's jewelry in there and all kinds of things. That little, that cup was, I've got my son and a few of his friends who were little football stars back then. So, hang on, how do I get this down again? There we go. So this one was up the vintage end of Portobello, where it's a different feel to the area. And I wanted to just show again, this is the summer. So summer's when people come and when carnival's going to happen. And that's winter, and winter in the market. And I always love that in the market in Portobello, even when it's dark and dreary, there's still always a feeling, yeah, but this is carnival land and something's going to happen. It always kind of helps you through the winter, knowing that carnival is coming in the summer. And this was a sort of school scene. I used a bit of artistic license to kind of juxtapose different things. It's not accurate, but I wanted to show some of the gentrification that was happening, that didn't always sit comfortably, as we know, that was happening too fast. And this was a little gallery scene I put in, but I wanted a steel band playing in it. And so there they are. And I forgot to tell you, actually, I put a little boy in every picture so that children could find him. He's very hard to find in this one. He's up on the scaffolding on the electric cinema. Let me see if I can just zoom in. There he is, but he's in every picture. So this is moving on more into the summer when there's a flyer line on the table about Notting Hill Carnival. I just wanted little hints of it. The guy at the table is reading. He's showing his daughter about it. And the little boy there is having a Portuguese nata. And that's the tabernacle. Again, it's a bit of artistic license used. And that's just showing the tabernacle is the hub of carnival. And that's showing what goes on in the build-up, in the lead up to carnival. Oh, had to get Rudy in there. She had in my picture, Rudy had a gig at the tabernacle. And there's a little boy, and what this man is holding is the vehicle pass. And anyone who's been involved in Notting Hill Carnival and who's taken a truck on the road knows how it's not easy to get that vehicle pass. You can't just kind of rock up and take a truck on the road. You have to go through all kinds of health and safety checks. You have to have insurance. You have to be a proper entity that's with everything in place. So you work very hard to have a very strong setup that actually enables you to have so much fun and to bring something special to the crowd. And in this one, I wanted to kind of show they're creating the passes for other steel bands. And that's Mel, who works at the tabernacle. And I wanted to show the work of some of the pioneers of carnival. But again, I just touched on it. I couldn't represent everybody because that would have taken too long. There's too many people to represent. But I did put just a few people in. That's Gloria Cummings, who has since passed away, who was one of the carnival elders, who worked very hard. And this is July, or maybe even August, when carnival's soon to happen. And you can feel it in the air. It's only a few a little way away. And this is a pan yard where steel bands practice. And that steel band would be practicing for Notting Hill's Carnival's, one of its key events, which is called Panorama, which is huge competition of, I say huge in that you wouldn't believe the music, the arrangements, steel bands of sort of 70 people playing a 10-minute arrangement of a current soca tune that is just mind-blowing. And that work that goes in practicing every day in August to get that tune right. This is a mass camp where people are getting ready to take costumes on the road. So when we did the Fox project, we although we did children's art on poles, or as they're known in Carnival terms, Carnival standards, we also taught children about the big costume makers, and we showed them something of the history of Carnival and why Carnival came about, so that they could go forward knowing more about Carnival and maybe be interested in becoming involved in one of the art forms of Carnival. But we were giving them an experience of their own artwork. And that's the morning of Carnival. So that's that basement flat again, where Colin and I were living in the basement. And that's, I made that our address. And that's kind of what it was like when in the early morning, or even through the small hours of you'd hear the sound system setting up and dragging huge speakers, and you'd hear speakers being tested, and you'd get up and it had started. And that's Pan on the road, playing on the steel band, which I've now done several times, and there's just nothing like the experience of being on a truck on the road and bringing music to the crowd. And I wanted to just show, the joy of Carnival and everything about it, the amazing food, even pearly kings and queens come to Carnival. It's just a day of people coming together, and it's really all about fellowship and togetherness. And that's Mass on the Road. That's kind of what it was like with Fox on the Road. And that's the cleanup. So afterwards, you just cannot believe the team come in, and by Tuesday morning, when everyone's getting up to go back to work, there's no sign of it. It's gone. And there's a feeling of joy from what you've just been through, but also loss that it's over for another year. So these are just a few little snippets from some of the pieces. I realized that I was in one of them, in one of the photographs. So I gave myself some shopping. I also brought in a few logos from that on the guy's t-shirt, DBC. That was a pirate radio station that operated from Portobello Road, one of the first. It was extraordinary, and that was their logo. So I put it on his t-shirt to kind of remember DBC and honor them. That's a little boy. That was one of the things. I ran an education program with this, and the kids would always, when I did a sort of a talk through of the artwork, and the kids would tell me how the phones were already dated, but that's an old phone she's got. And I would always, I put the playlist into some of the drawings, because I wanted people to see that, to get to read about those tunes, and to, because soca music is such a big part of Carnival, I recommend it to everyone. So I wanted everyone to read those playlists. And once the art went up on the wall, it was just extraordinary for me to see how, once it was, there were things around it, how they kind of worked together. And I loved that, because it was on Portobello Road, which is a busy street, but it really comes to life on Friday, Saturday and Sunday when there's the market is there. And I was mentioned earlier about that flat. Well, there it is again. And it was a really special moment for me because that's Leslie Palmer, who's one of the pioneers of Carnival. And he told me, he stood in front of the artwork on the wall, and he told me that in that flat, he sat down with a bunch of people, and that was the flat where they actually planned and kind of conceived new ideas from moving Carnival from a small parade that essentially started with children to into something that, you know, they were part of the planning of expanding it. So he was a key player, and that was really great that that it turned out that that flat was the one above the basement that Colin and I lived in. And I loved that I got that photograph of Leslie in front of the artwork. And that's Sister Monica, who's a big player in Carnival. And I put her in, and I was really pleased that she could be represented. Oh, there's Rudy. I love that picture, even though Rudy's not looking at the art at the moment. I just love the contrast of of people against the artwork. So I was pleased to get that photograph of Rudy. That's my daughter, Rudy, by the way. And I loved it when little children got to look at the artwork as well and find the little boy. And I just wanted them to see a story, an adventure that they could kind of feel part of. And I gave children a sort of treasure hunt, but actually the questions were educating them about Carnival, because it's an important education, and it's a big part of British culture, really, in so many ways. And through that project, it gave me the confidence to do another one that's up at the moment at 300 Ladbroke Grove. It was a grey ramp that was a key part of an estate that was being regenerated. So I got to cover it with imagery. And it was another opportunity to work with community, but in a slightly different way, because this time they actually gave me images to put in, and they gave me photographs. So I love being able to give people status and give their photo status within this, and also bring a few of my own photos in, a little bit of my own story, and of course a little bit of Carnival. And I have another one up at the moment that's, again, I think putting something up on that wall for the public to react to, and the public giving me such a warm reaction, gave me the confidence to do another one. In fact, I got another of the same commission, and this commission was for the market, 150 years of Portobello Road. And the markets, I didn't think of applying again because I didn't think I could, but the market stallholders said, we want you to do it. And the borough went with that. And so I did that one. And I just drew in the market in my sketchbook and then digitized the drawings. And I absolutely loved that opportunity to draw on Portobello Road and to show the community of Portobello. and I made sure Pan was in there. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things that have inspired and informed my work. And of course, my mum, because she always drew and she always encouraged me to carry a sketchbook. And she didn't really think she was a great artist or anything. She was quite shy, but she did that. And I'm so thankful that she's always made me draw. And my children have always drawn, and I've encouraged them, and we've always had sketchbooks. And when they were little, we didn't have the possibility of digital devices, but having a drawing book in my bag, and we had the drawing bag, and the drawing bag had kind of easy things that everyone could open easily and without taking over, and everyone drew. And so my family have been a huge inspiration. And that my family have been involved in Carnival all the way through. It's been a fantastic thing to do together. That was Eden and Benjamin, and this is Sasha and Rudy. And of course, Colin, who was Captain Danceheart, who led the band right behind the speakers, and his pole that he was holding was much taller than everyone else's, so everyone at the back could see his, and he moved in time to the music, and those poles moving was an extraordinary sight. And even I drew him when he was a trumpet player, and I drew him through Strictly, and he's still a great subject. And another great subject for me has been Hong Kong. I can't not be inspired by Hong Kong. I know I've already shown lots of photographs, but I have to show a few more. It's just, where do you get buildings like that, ideas like that? And a lot of these are built with bamboo scaffolding. And I've actually got a couple of books that coming out in a couple of months' time. One is a children's book and one is an adult's book, and they're both about a project I did in Hong Kong when I was 22, so a long time ago, about a place in Hong Kong called the Walled City that no longer exists. So I've really enjoyed doing that and looking back at that project and bringing those drawings out. But a lot of my, I don't know, inspiration and sort of playfulness, I hope, has come from working with children and children's art. And I always recommend any artist work with children. If you haven't got work, go into schools and do voluntary projects, bring art to children, because their ideas are always amazing. I work with children on computer, teach using the program with them, and they've taught me things about the program in the way they express and the color they use, and just the way they have such freedom in their work. Like I said, when you give with a carnival, when you give a basic tool to a child, they just bring it to life. They know when to stop. They know when something's finished. They just have a sense of a courage about what they want to do. And I always look at this picture and think that you can have an idea for a carnival project, for a huge project, maybe involving 400 children, and you can think it's going to look good, but once you give them the tools, and once it's finished, it's what they've done with it is so much more than you could ever have imagined. I just love the simplicity of this child's work, just that she decided to do just that. And this child as well, just that he chose something and made the hair where those letters were on the background, and he's gone for something so simple and so graphic, yet such a strong image. And this child, you know, has done something quite the opposite. He's done this on computer, but he's kind of explosion of color. And I remember this little girl, there was we had lots of sequins, and I imagine, you know, adults sewing sequins neatly onto a carnival costume, but she used the sequins to make them ladybirds in the middle of her flower. You know, even something like that, so simple, just so strong and beautiful and inspiring. And equally that, you know, this is a digital drawing. I just love Harrods. I remember this little girl painting on computer. I gave her a brush that painted with money, but never would have thought that she'd make the hair the money. And I remember when the drawings came back printed onto Corex, the only thing she wanted to do, and then she knew it was finished, was to put glitter on the mouth. And you know, I just love those ideas that kind of challenge things and are just strong and free and courageous. They're all ready for Carnival, ready to be taken on the road. That's a moment when going into one of the schools in North Kensington where the artwork for Carnival was created. And some of the children won't be there to take part in Carnival, especially a lot of the Moroccan children go away in August. But we taught the project so that they were really happy and really knew that they were providing a piece of artwork for another child to carry. But that moment at the end of the class when they've made it, they finished it, and then we put on the soca music and they dance to it and the artwork comes to life. It's unforgettable. And I remember this project, this was 2 weeks after Grenfell, going into bereaved classes and bereaved schools and trying to make sense of what had happened, and children having the strength and the community spirit to work on this project, to give something to the community. We told them that we wanted to bring some artwork to Carnival on a truck, and they wanted it to be about the positives of community, and they created the positives of the community, and they, you know, they fully went with it. They said that they wanted people at Carnival to see the artwork and for it to make them smile. So we showed them the trucks that, you know, normally deliver to Sainsbury's, and we showed them how they become stages at Carnival, and you know what their artwork would look like. And that's what they did, and it was really joyous. I forgot to tell you that Fox Carnival project had by then morphed into a steel band, and I'm so thankful that I've learned to play pan and be part of a steel band that we play twice a week, and we play Carnival on a truck, and it's one of the best things ever. And that same truck that I just showed you with the, the line drawings on a white background, we've returned to the community to color in the drawings, and it's still going on the truck, and those children's art are still being brought out and given to the community of Carnival. And just with steel pan, I just wanted to show this, which was a project that was Colin's idea, to have 1,000 pans play Brazil for the handover together. And I sort of produced and art directed it, and we pulled it off, and 1,000 pans came together for the handover, and from all over the country, and the sun shone, and it was an amazing day. So I've been so thankful, and it's been such an inspiration to have steel pan in my life. I'm very much an amateur player, but I get so much out of it. And we've got an amazing teacher and arranger, and I love working with him as kind of as a producer and art director. And all over London, especially in the lead up to Carnival, all over Britain, there are steel bands that have so much virtuosity and incredible arrangers and incredible skill, and bringing it out into the community to share it with people, and to get people, to help people see that it's not a drum, that, you know, join a steel band, they're kind of taken over, or could take over, from the community brass bands that have disappeared, all but disappeared. That used to be a lot, you know, that used to be in every village. And there's a lot of lugging around of heavy instruments, but it's worth it. That was teaching pan to the Corps of Army Music, who'd, you know, amazing musicians, but they hadn't played pan before. So I wanted to capture that. And those are banners made of the pan players' drawings. And of course, the other huge inspiration has been Notting Hill Carnival. And just who couldn't love Carnival? That getting together, reclaiming the streets. I just think, where else do you see that glee, that joy on people's faces? That's our kids some years ago, 2006, I think. And that's going in the car from our house to the mass camp, which wasn't very far, but we had always had loads of stuff to carry, so we always took the car, and they were always asleep in it when we were, you know, packing up and coming home. But just that joy on their faces, it's Carnival Day. So it's been such a pleasure to have got to experience that joy and share it with such an amazing community. And that's it. That's Notting Hill Carnival. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for enabling this talk to RBKC, Arts and Culture, and also to Colorsonic, who are the printers who I work with to print my artwork, and they've supported me over the years, have been amazing. But thank you to Notting Hill Carnival. Thank you, Notting Hill Carnival, and really important thank you to the Windrush generation who brought Carnival to London, and the pioneers who fought for it. And it has been a fight at times. And to all the Carnival artists and the musicians and the enthusiasts, all the Carnivalists who love it and keep it going. And you know, I'm so thankful that I've been part of it, part of that community, and loved every minute of it. And that's it. So thank you.
So I'm going to say, Fiona, on behalf of everybody watching, and that was an amazing presentation. Thank you. You'll read the comments later. There's some wonderful comments in the chat.
Well, thank you so much, guys. And that's it. Good night.